Hello, intrepid viewers. Dr. Lena coming to you this time from Sydney. So it's a bit warmer than where I live, and it's a nice sunny day. So we've got to get stuck into the news as always. So what's been happening? Well, a lot of you are not impressed with the Alan Weisselberg story that he's only looking at, 5 months, after years and years of doing the, elastic accounting for Trump org. Entertainment purposes only, but I don't even have to say that now, do I? He is a convicted felon at this point. I think that's the story. But look, don't worry, because he has made this plea deal and he was looking at, I think, serving the time at Rikers jail. We've heard of Rikers even here in Australia, and that's enough to sort of focus your attention. 15 years in Rikers prison or having to testify truthfully. I know it'll stick in his throat. They're not used to speaking truth. But he can't, as I understand it, he can't take the fifth because he has taken the plea deal. So he has to tell the truth, even if it strangles him. But I must say, I woke up thinking about Weisselberg. I have to speak in code because it's YouTube. I'm not sure he'll make it through if you follow my drift. I'm just saying. We'll see. Okay, so that's Weisselberg. Now, I want to have a little look at Beto, keeping on top of the Beto O'Rourke story. But also, what's going on in the Yeti's brain? Now, there's been reports that he is sort of anxious, quote, hysterical and aggressive, for the few people who still pick up the phone to the man. So let's have a little look in there. We're also going to look at Raphael Warnock versus Walker in Georgia. In other good news, before we get to Trump's brain, doesn't even sound right in the same sentence, does it? Well, yeah. In other good news, Crist, C-R-I-S-T, has won the Democratic primary in Florida, and that's really good because he goes up against DeSantis, and I really feel quite positive. I think he's one of the few people who could unseat DeSantis. He's ex-GOP, became a Dem, and was previously, I think, a governor of Florida. So he's a known quantity. We'll keep an eye on him. In the meantime, how's the Yeti handling all of this? How's the Yeti handling on a day-to-day basis? Let's look inside. Ooh, that's a grubby space, isn't it? Inside the Yeti cranium, what's going on? I'm sure if you did an MRI, there'd be, it'd be off the Richter scale. Okay. How's he coping? Oh, he knows. Okay. He does get the temperance, which softens it a wee bit. Okay, so inside Yeti brain, what we have here, internal conflict. Not surprising. It's right next to the idea of walking away. I think he deludes himself that he can walk away from all these legal cases and still reign supreme. However, this is sitting on top of the death card, and it's like this card was painted for him. Look, the hooves of the horse are trampling the king, and you can see his crown has rolled off here. Sorry about my camera. Occasionally, intrepid viewers do ask, could I please get a better camera? But I'm sorry, I'm 66. Do I really want a better camera that shows all my wrinkles? No, I don't, but I digress. So this idea is over the death card. I'd like to say he's a spent force, but he has this softening influence of temperance. And so this is one cup to the other. So this is the GOP, I think, trying to work out how they can still milk the Yeti for those that love him, but not actually have him there. I think that's what they're trying to do. And that's a challenge, and they haven't got there yet. Are we surprised? Not at all. Okay, so that's with him. I think in that brain, he can't actually believe it's the end for him. He can't. It's the narcissist in him. He can't believe. So he doesn't think he's reached the end of the road. That's what I can tell you. He thinks he's going to be king again, but he's not. So do relax on that. One reason or another, he won't be there in 2024. But as I read on last time, he is going to make a run. So don't get freaked out when you hear that. It's to be expected. Of course, he's going to say he's running. Of course. Now, another viewer asked, with all this stuff about the stolen election and the big lie and all of that, where is the Federal Electoral Commission in all this? Good question. What do they do? Because it doesn't appear they do much of anything, really. So I looked them up, and apparently their role is not to make sure that there are free and fair elections in the Republic. No. Their job is to report campaign donations. Report. Not criticise or do anything with this analysis, just report. And unfortunately, they've reported a huge, the biggest GOP donation ever. Now, this is a bit of a bugger because they were starting to go broke because the NRA was, up to their corporate eyeballs in court cases, still are. And it was a single donation of $1.6 billion. Now, that money was given to Leonard Leo. He's from the Federalist Society. And you've got to remind yourselves, too, this push towards the medieval conservatives positions that we're seeing now, this has been 20 years in the making. The Federalist Society, the Tea Party, they were all there, right? So this guy, Leonard Leo, I mean, really, was given the money. But where did the money come from, I hear you ask? Well, his name is Barre Sayed, and he's an electronics mogul. He's 90 years old, and he donated this money to the Marble Freedom Trust. They always have freedom in the title. It's always a clue. They're anti-freedom when you see freedom in the title. It's a big giveaway. Okay, so Barre Sayed gave this money for Leonard Leo to use for the GOP. Yeah, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money in anybody's language. So let's see, is it big enough to tip the scales? What will the GOP do with this huge amount of money? Really? Okay. Barre said 1.6 billion just for this conservative agenda. This is not just the election, but pushing for these Supreme Court justices who are, little ayatollahs in their own right. So let's see, what are the GOP going to do with this money? 3 nights. That's funny. I'll put the nights together. This is really interesting. This is literally a windfall, right? The GOP didn't expect this. So already it's a bit of a burden. Now that sounds weird, but it can be. They've got this money, and the GOP is split between the mad MAGA files, the old guard, and those in the middle, the Cheneys and the Joe Scarboroughs and the what's his face? God, I'm getting vague. George Conway and those Lincoln Project people. So there's three distinct GOPs going on, right? So this is a bit of a burden. Who gets how much of this pie? Well, you have the false knight coming in. This would be the emotional use of it. So this is pulling on people's heartstrings. Okay, so this is how they get these draconian laws through. They manage to make it sound as if they're just there saving babies, you know. That's all I want, is to save those babies. Doesn't matter if they can't eat at lunchtime. It doesn't matter what happens in their lives, but I'm here to save babies. Well, a digression, intrepid viewers. There's going to be fewer and fewer babies because America is taking it upon itself to sterilize en masse. So vasectomies have gone through the roof. Tubal ligations have gone through the roof. So this must be frustrating for all those GOP reps who all have reinvented themselves as gynecologists. I mean, please spare me, take it away, just take it away. But it's not working for them. Okay, so back to this 1.6 billion. You have, so that's, I think, the MAGA files. You can't save them, you can't help them. And unfortunately, you can't do them in. That leaves the other two. This is the corporate GOP. This is like the Mitch McConnells and the old guard who are used to managing the money and they're used to running the ship, versus the new young things like the Matt Gateses and the Jim Jordans and all of that. They're the outreach for the simpering MAGA files, right? So all of it is actually a burden in how to make a judgment of how to use it. Right. So, yes, I can't believe that about the Federal Electoral Commission. Its budget is 79 million a year, right? Best part of 80 million a year. So over a 4-year electoral cycle, they get $320 million to do nothing, it would appear to me. And then they just disappear into the sunset as soon as there's a real issue like Al Gore or anything else. You know, that's money that could be saved. Right. Okay, that's that story. Let's have a look. Raphael Warnock. Sorry, I didn't sleep that well last night. Strange bed. Warnock versus Herschel Walker. Now, Herschel Walker, I'm sorry, you know, like, I'm not sure this guy should have a driver's license, let alone be representing voters in Georgia. You know, like, what is the story? So Warnock versus Walker, we have to keep an eye on this because it can fluctuate. Got to remember that with the cards. They do fluctuate with the energy of the time. So I'll do 3 cards on the left for Warnock and 3 on the right for Walker. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, if these cards just don't change between now and November, it would be a very good result. Let me explain, but we can't get ahead of ourselves here. Now, Raphael Warnock, for whatever reason, he's very slick, very charming. And dare I say, please understand where I'm coming from, but as a black man, he crosses over to the mainstream Little House on the Prairie GOP. They're obviously not threatened by Raphael, you know. But that's good in terms of voting. He might attract those extra votes. Solid, Four of Wands, marriage with the people. The Magician, very powerful. He has the ability to persuade. Poor old Herschel, he'll have all the money in the world pumped into him in the form of dark money. He'll have some of that 1.6 billion, given to his campaign. But it won't be enough because the stinky fish will emerge. It could be another ex-battered wife, entertainment only YouTube, but they keep turning up. Plus other things. There's more surprise news about the man. And in any event, he was a false prophet. I mean, talk about diamonds and silk, he's like that. The sellout. Ugh, yuck. So if things went ahead tomorrow, they look good for Warnock, but the GOP, we know, will do everything in its power to steal and cheat and not bat an eyelid about doing that. Not 1 nanosecond. Beto also could have done very well last time if it wasn't for the rorting, the blatant rorting. But Texas is up for change. You got to feel that. I know if you're in the heartland, it might not feel like that. But, there's a lot of movement in Texas. Demographic change, people coming in from the outside world. And I've seen the same thing happen in my home state, which used to be called the Texas of Australia and was a police state for 20 years and all of that. And people have moved there from other places, and it does begin to have an impact over time. So let's check in on dear Beto. Is Beto getting into the hearts and minds? Let's have a look. All right. Look, he's got gorgeous cards, but here's the conflict with those who are worried about him being so successful. He brings people together. He's got this King of Wands energy that's very calm, very authoritative for a young-ish person. He's not a baba, but, the World, which is my card for ethnic diversity, cultural diversity, bringing it all together. He has that capacity. His time hasn't come yet. We've got to wait a little while. But at the moment, this is my GOP card for the day. They're in conflict. They are in conflict what to do about him because they know he's got bite and they know Abbott isn't popular. He'll attract the GOP diehards out of habit, Abbott with the habit, but he's not going to attract new voters or younger voters or female voters or Latino voters or anyone else. So if you add them all up, but expect the worst behavior in Texas, so everyone will have to be onto that. I thought before I go, I'm so happy about Christ going up against DeSantis. I'm thrilled. The J6 committee, remember Pence saying, oh, I'll talk to them if I'm invited. Oh, what a pretentious wanker. I mean, really, God knows what Google Translate will do with wanker. But anyway, there you go. I think the J6 committee should just say, don't bother. We've talked to all your staff. We know everything that happened. Don't bother taking up 5 hours of our time being evasive and stupid. I mean, that would be satisfying, but maybe they won't. Okay, so I'm going to have a look. This is what I really want to look at. The Trump demon spawn, the 3 main offspring. How is their relationship with each other? let's have a look at how the siblings are going. We can't count Tiffany because she had a mortal mother and might be halfway normal. We can't count Baron because he's still a forming young person, although, you know, he's got a lot of issues with both sides of the family, if you ask me, but that's all I'll say. I wish him all the best as a human being. So we're talking about Don Jr., ERIK, and Ivanka. Okay, let's have a look at them. How are they getting on as siblings? All these court cases, the passing of their mother, she who was interred on the first tee of Bedminster. Okay, what's happening? Oh, yeah, Ivana's right in the middle. Mother of Dragons is right in the middle. I am not surprised. Oh, look at this. Oh, my word. Oh, look. I almost felt sorry for them for a minute, but I had to just recalibrate. You know, that'd be a waste of energy, wouldn't it, really? So Ivana's here, bang in the center, because she was always a heavyweight presence in their world. She was not just a little stay-at-home milquetoast mom. Can you forget those eulogies? Oh, my God. So this is her still, even more so, in the center of their lives. Judgment, this trumpet is loud and clear. They can't sleep at night with this trumpet blaring in their ear, which is all the court cases, and they're having to wake up to the fact. They've come to the end of this era. They've come to the end, and they've all had to make adjustment. They're all looking at legal filings coming at them. There's a nostalgia here for when life was simpler, when they were just A-listers and no one cared how much, you know, recreational use they had for anything, and no one cared much. It was just what they were wearing and all of that. There's a nostalgia for that, but it's too late for nostalgia because they've entered a new era. And the new era has the Queen of Swords looking very closely at everything, right? And the Fool can often be a very highly sophisticated card in the tarot, but here, no, they're foolish, walking off a cliff, out in the cold. Now, this has given me what's happening for the three of them generally, but not their relationship. So I'm going to have to pull more cards. I'll leave those cards and pull more cards. I'm going to separate, make a different question. Ivanka and her brothers. What's the relationship like with Ivanka and her brothers? See if we can get more insight here. Ivanka and her brothers. And the brothers. I'll just push those to the side. What do we get? Oh. Now, here's Ivanka. I think this King of Wands, I'm going to give it a different interpretation than usual. I think this is speaking of them collectively as trumps, right? The King of Wands, the Yeti was the king, they are little trumpets. And ever since they were children, they have been exposed to his way of thinking and everything. So I think he's over the dynamic. She gets the High Priestess. She has her own agenda going on, and it does not include the brothers. This is the conflict between the three of them. I think this is different personalities juggling this sort of pressure, because even though we just roll our eyes and slide off our chairs going, when are they going to see justice done? For them, they're under massive stress. Ha! And she's rapidly moving on with her own agenda, with the chariot here, moving on to her own, she's traveling to the beat of her own drum. She hasn't lost a passport yet. I think the FBI should be collecting all their passports, because people say, will the Yeti leave the country? I doubt it. He's a 76-year-old American man. He could go on yet another forged passport or something to Dubai or the Cayman Islands or something, but that's not him. He's a Queen's boy. But you can't say the same for the demon spawn. And I think the sooner the FBI get their passports, the better. Also, a few of you have asked, and what I personally think was Jared was not the only one who was the mole about the documents, but he was one of the players. That's my feel. And there was a risk attached to that, because he's the one who would be exploiting and actually selling the documents. So he is playing a very, very dangerous game, and we may get to him next time. So in the meantime, comment away, get all that energy out there, talk to each other. It's a very nice community we have here. And so it is only a pleasure to be of service. Dearest possums. So bye for now. Ciao.